Hey everybody, it's Reviews and More, back with a quick review. This is on, as you can see here, an X chair. So this is my reward for being such an amazing husband. My wife tells me every day I'm so awesome and amazing, and she loves me so much. She bought me this super expensive X chair for Christmas, and I'm really happy about it, and I'd be more happy if she actually said all those things to me. But without further ado, here we go. This is the X2. So there's various models. I think it goes up to like the X4 or something, but this is the model that is one above the base model. Now, this is how the box arrived. I was a little concerned when the box arrived from, I believe it was actually a contract carrier through, I want to say FedEx, but I could be wrong about that. But it looked kind of janky in the box. I was a little concerned, but it turns out it was just loosely packed. There was no damage to anything, and I don't think there would have been, given how well everything was packed. So here you see the headrest, and before I go any further, mention the price. I believe it was about $9.50 after I took off a discount for the rollerblade style wheels, and the headrest, I believe, with the X2 comes included, so you don't have to pay extra for that. And it was about $1,200 when you included like the 5-year warranty plan that I purchased, because I'm a big boy and I didn't want to mess things up, and if I did, I wanted it replaced. And I'm well under the weight capacity, but I'm just paranoid. I don't want to lose a big expensive chair because I wiggled too much in my chair one day and ripped something. But the mesh is a little stronger than the X1, but overall, very, very comfortable chair. Now, the assembly on this could not be simpler. I've assembled other chairs like racing chairs, gaming chairs, that kind of stuff, and they're always like super piece party. They've got a lot of plastic that doesn't really always fit perfectly well together. This chair has a lot of metal. In fact, the packing weight on it was 73 pounds, so it's a hefty chair, and it's actually fairly heavy even when assembled. And because this is a mesh chair, that weight doesn't come from it being full of a bunch of stuff and fluff in the stuffing and everything else on these chairs. So it's really just the bulk of the pieces and parts that take stress. So the backrest, the actual wheels themselves, everything is made of a lot of metal, and it's very, very, very sturdy, which is a very good thing because I weigh over 200 pounds and I tend to plop down in chairs rather unceremoniously, and that can be a little bit of stress on the chair. But so far, it's been about a month. It's very, very comfy so far, and no issues at all. No stretching, nothing with the mesh. So far, it's been pretty good. And here you see me unpacking the armrests, which are adjustable. That's one of the coolest thing about the X chair is like everything is adjustable. The lumbar tension's adjustable. Obviously, the chair itself going back and forth is adjustable. The actual positioning of the seat will actually shift forward to allow you to, like, let's say you have kind of like a longer legs and you want to feel more comfortable. You can actually shift the seat forward and it'll hold in place, so you can actually move it, like sit more comfortably, so you're not feeling like you're sitting on the edge of the chair anymore, which is very kind of awesome for me because I'm kind of long-legged. And there you see all the little box and PC parts, but it takes only a few screws to put together, and it's very, very modular. So let's say one day you're like, I don't really want this headrest anymore, it kind of bumps into me, maybe it's not your thing, you thought you'd like it, turns out you don't. You can remove the headrest, replace the back portion with it. There won't be any open areas with exposed screws. It looks extremely professional, looks very, very nice, and everything feels super smooth. And as I mentioned before, I've put together a lot of other chairs that kind of like, they have metal screws, but they kind of go into plastic slots, and those plastic slots are kind of, assembled in China. They're not always perfectly assembled. These are flush. Everything goes in like it was machine designed for it, because it was. So I can't speak more highly for the machining on this and the general quality. Also, a lot of the items are already put together. Here, most of the time when you're putting together cheaper chairs, you have to put the bottom portion and attach it to the chair itself. Here it comes already ready to go. There's a minimal amount of assembly involved in these. So if you're worried about purchasing this, you're like, I don't know if I'll be able to do it myself, the biggest problem you might have is maybe lugging the thing upstairs like I had to do. Everything else is so well assembled and so pre-done. For the most part, there just isn't a whole lot extra you have to do. In fact, I would say the most labor-intensive part of the assembly was putting the wheels on, and that was only because I was trying to get it on camera at an angle, and normally I would just throw them on there and sit on the thing, but I didn't want to do that for the demonstration you're going to see here. So overall, super happy with the assembly process, and it comes with like an instruction manual, but it's pretty self-explanatory. There's only like 1 or 2 size screws you have to use, and they won't work but one way, so that makes it very, very simple. Alright, now as we're running through this, just seeing all the various PC parts. Again, I'll remind, this is the X2, and the X2's biggest distinguishing feature is the fact that it comes with the headrest included, which is just kind of included in the increased price, and an improved mesh. I don't have an X1 to compare it to, but the mesh, my mother does, and the mesh is a little bit different. It's a little thicker, a little tighter, and I guess more ready to handle my weight. Additionally, I went for the option for the extra wide seat. I don't exactly fill the thing up, but I like having the wiggle room when I'm sitting down. I like being able to shift around as I sit, and that's why it's the extra wide. So there you see the lumbar support, the up and down, the back, and the sliding bottom seat portion was on the right there. But very cool chair mechanisms all in all. Has the standards, the up and down, obviously. But what I really liked was the fact you can actually slide the seat out a little bit without reclining, which basically gives you more seat to actually have if you like having more of your leg on the chair and not necessarily feeling like maybe like half your body's hanging off. So it gives you makes you feel a lot more secure. It also takes my weight when I lean back. Another big concern for me was, what if I lean back in this thing and it flips over? That would be embarrassing, painful, and I'd probably cuss a whole lot. But I've leaned back in this thing all the way back, legs in the air. This thing doesn't fall over, and I'm 230 pounds. So it's not. I don't think for the vast majority of the population, you should not have any major issues. All right, so this is the most difficult part for me, mostly because I had to film it. This is putting on, in this case, these are I call them rollerblade wheels. These are just like their premium wheels. As far as what, they don't seem to be a proprietary locking mechanism. I think these are just the standard locking caster wheels that would go on to any given set of chairs. So there are cheaper versions of this. I think if you get the X, in this case, I put a coupon code in, so the wheels were free. I think that takes $50 off. You can get these kind of wheels on Amazon for I think $20 to $25. So if you're really don't know if you want these kind of wheels, you can just purchase them separately, but you do get the casters regardless. I have a set of traditional caster wheels that came with them, as well as these that came in as like an extra amenity. So you have the option for both. Now, when you put these on, they should kind of snap into place. If they don't, you can always do my method, which is wait till you get the chair seat on there, or right there you see me step on it, and that'll pop them in place, because that's what 230 pounds does when you step on it. So that's kind of how that works. Very, very simple. Then you get the actual piston mechanism, or the hydraulic mechanisms for the chair going up and down, or what I call the up and down button. It slides in, held in by pressure. There are no screws. This is how most chairs tend to work these days. You don't tend to see them actually get screwed in or anything. These just use pressure, and once you sit in the chair a couple times, it's never going to come out. You will have to work real hard to get this thing out of here at some point. In fact, it will probably require a rubber mallet to actually get the thing out if you ever have some weird reason to have to take it apart, which should not occur. And unless you're doing some kind of weird repair, which again I just don't see the necessity for. But on the off chance you do need to, it takes a good bit of heft and work to get those things out once you've been sitting in them for a while. And then you see me there reading the next set of instructions. That's not hard to do, but I don't want to be wrong. The next step is just throwing the actual chair bottom on top. You can't do this wrong, because there's only one hole for it to go to. I am notorious when I used to put together chairs for like places I used to work, for putting on the mechanism that goes on the bottom on backwards, because oftentimes they were symmetrical, but on this chair it's already done for you, which is very, very nice, which means you're not going to make a mistake. So unless the factory does, which they didn't. So you just put it in the only hole that fits in that particular peg, and it slides right on. Won't come off. Same thing. Pressure is what keeps it in place, and it's basically a friction, not adhesive. It's a friction hold, so it doesn't actually use any functional screws or anything like that. It doesn't screw on or twist on. It's just there. And after you get this done, you can start putting on the armrests, which will screw in quite tightly. And as you see here, I do a quick test to make sure the thing spins smoothly, make sure that nothing feels like it's grinding. That can sometimes be an issue. But again, that's a very expensive chair. Everything is fitted for it. It feels very, very smooth, even as I'm sitting on it as I record this, because it's super comfy. It doesn't have any doesn't feel like it's grinding, no clanking or anything like that's going on. And there you see the only real screw you're going to be using for the most part. There's a couple extra ones for the backrest, for the headrest. For the most part, you're only using this one size, and they provide you multiple hex wrenches in different formats to make it so you can kind of put the right amount of torque on it and get it tightened down really well. Again, because you're going metal on metal here, you don't have to worry about stripping out plastic fittings, so that's a very, very nice little thing here. Additionally, you don't have to worry about putting on the wrong side, because they will only go in one direction, and if you put them on backwards, they won't look right. So you'll very quickly understand that you put on the armrest incorrectly. My one gripe I do have is the armrests kind of feel flimsy, because the armrests themselves, not the base of them, the base of them is metal, but the top of them is made of plastic, and it feels like they're a little bit loose, but that's partly because those are also heavily adjustable. You can turn them in and out and have them kind of hold in place. The result is you don't have it feeling super solid when you're sitting in it, but that's just a feeling, and just I'm so used to anytime I'm sitting in a chair, being really hesitant when it feels in any way kind of rickety, that just the fact that they wiggle a little bit kind of throws me off. But that's a personal preference thing for me, and that's something I just had to get over, and I have gotten over it. I'm not worried about breaking the armrest by kind of pushing my weight off when I get out of the chair, which was a concern for me. And you can tighten it down just about as tight as you want to get it, because again, it's metal on, it's good high quality metal on top of metal, so you're not gonna have to worry about stripping anything out of it, which is kind of nice. Not saying it's not possible, that's why I wouldn't use power tools on it, but just it's really hard to mess these things up just because it's good quality build. And then we'll do the other one really, really fast so y'all don't have to watch it. And then we can jump right into putting together the rest of the chair. Give it a good spin, make sure everything looks right, and then throw the back on. Again, it's just 4 screws in the back, makes it extra secure. Again, it's all metal on metal construction, which is real nice. Normally, to put all these things together, half the time you have to put together the actual armrest piece by piece, and you got to then assemble it to the bottom separately. It's just a big hullabaloo, and it's kind of unpleasant. But with this, there's really only, functionally, there's only 4 parts to the entire chair itself. Outside of the legs and the post, you're going to have the 2 armrests, the back, and the chair. So that's 4 functional parts. The headrest is obviously optional. I just happen to have it on this one, so it's very, very quickly done. And there's I'm pointing out the 2 holes to you. Do one on each side, then fill in the rest. And I always advise, when you're doing things symmetrically like this, when you do things symmetrically like this, make sure you do 1 screw on one side, then the other screw on the other side, then go back, kind of back and forth. That way, if there is anything going on where one side gets too tight compared to the other, you don't have any misthreading. Although with this, because it was machined so well and so exacting, that's not likely to happen. But just out of precaution, always try to alternate the side you're putting your screws on items like this, just because you don't want to run into problems that you don't have to. But they go in real easy, real smooth. I tighten them up really tight. I didn't feel like I was ever worried about snapping or anything else, or stripping them, because they're robust hex bolts, excuse me. Everything went in flush. Felt very, very nice. There wasn't any like gaps or anything, so very, very simple. So I know it was machined properly, and in all likelihood the chair was already assembled one time before it was disassembled, based on how well it goes together. But I can't verify that for sure, obviously. But overall, really happy with just how the assembly went in general. So at this point, the chair is effectively put together. The only thing that it does not have is the headrest, which is optional. You might opt to get an X chair without the headrest. I would advise getting it because it's just a little bit extra, and if you don't like it, or you don't know if you want one at that point, or it's just not conducive to your setup, you can always take it off, put it away, and just deal with it later on. So at this point, I was very happy with the chair, and in theory I could have left off the headrest, but I wanted to try it for a while. And since it actually came included with the X2 version, I was like, I'm not going to avoid it. So you're going to see me put it on in just a second, although you will see very quickly the little piece that goes into it if you choose not to have a headrest on it. They do a good job of making sure you're not going to have any exposed screws to make it look unprofessional or low quality. So what they do is they basically provide a little, like right here, you're going to see it, bad camera work, see my gun, sorry. There you go, nice easy spin. All little PC parts at the bottom. Looks really sleek. I was very impressed. It doesn't look all janky and full of weird springs and stuff. So there's a little piece that goes in the back if you don't want to use the headrest to make it smooth and look like it's supposed to look. But obviously, I'm not putting it in there, so the same mechanism is used to attach on the headrest. The headrest, by the way, is also fully adjustable, so you should be able to adjust it just fine up and down, as well as the tilt. So there it goes. It mounts right onto it, and from there, it's a very simple process of just getting the correct hex screws, which are of a different size than what the rest of the chair uses, but it assembles very, very quickly in a very similar manner. And here I'm going to speed it up a little bit just to make life a little easier for those of y'all watching. So there's the adjustment. You can go up and down, kind of just slides, and it also tilts. Once you get it on there, you just got to line the holes up. Very simple process. And you'll notice there's a little indent in there. You might be going, wait, this doesn't look good. I don't like having that indent there. Once you get everything assembled, there will be a little gap, like kind of countersunk in there. So what X chair provides is a little, I'm going to say, use the wrong thing, a 3M sticky tab item that kind of goes in the back. basically to act as a gap filler to give it the backing a smooth, non-screw showing appearance. So instead of it being a situation where you can actually see the screws, or sorry, the bolts, you will now be able to avoid looking at them because it'll just be a nice, pretty, flat black back to this little area, and you just got to peel off the sticky parts, put it on there flush, and then it's good to go. Now, there was no extras of these, which I'm kind of surprised about because there might be situations where you take it off and put it back on, but I'm sure if you contact X-Chair, they might provide you with one, or just get some 3M tape and do the same thing all over again. A little bit of a pain, but it works out. But there you go. At this point, the chair is now fully assembled, including the headrest. Nothing else to it. The only thing that I did not include in this version of the chair was like vibration stuff. I didn't see much need for that, or the notion of having either a wired up chair or a chair with a battery in it didn't seem very attractive to me. Additionally, I did not get the footrest because I've had footrest on like gaming chairs before and I never used them. I don't see the purpose. I don't sit and lean back when I'm at my computer for the most part, so it's really not that big of an issue for me. But there's the chair itself, trying not to have my pew-pews in the view, but I'm 230 pounds, fits great, works great. I will do an update in like 6 months on this thing after I've been sitting at it for hours and hours and hours a day, and just tell you how things are going. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day. Sorry my house is a mess.